Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, Madam Amira here. So, we continue with point 4.4, Environmental Quality Act, EQA 1974. Okay, so this is the EQA 1974. Alright, so EQA 1974, this legislation is related to the prevention, abatement, control of pollution and enhancement of the environment in Malaysia. Okay, so basically the EQA is on the environment and to control the pollution in Malaysia. So this act restricts the discharge of waste into environment in contravention of the acceptable conditions. Okay, so the acceptable condition has been listed in the act. So the condition yang tidak dilistkan tu tak boleh lah. Okay, so akan dikenakan tindakan lah. And while to date, there are 38 sets of regulations and orders have been introduced and enforced, and the Director General of Environmental Quality has been appointed by the Minister. Okay, so the DG of the Environmental Quality appointed by the Minister to administer this act and any regulation and orders met thereunder. Okay, so as the introduction to the aims and objective of this act. So this act enact environmental quality aims to address, prevent and control pollution and environmental quality at the national level, kan dah cakap tadi. And then between the body responsible for administering and regulating this act is, we have the Department of Occupational Safety and Health, DOSH. Okay, DOSH. We have the Ministry of Human Resource and Environment Department. Okay, this one is DOE, Department of Environment. Jabatan Alam Sekitar. Okay, and then activities. However, the activities to preserve and conserve environmental sustainability is the duty of every human being. Okay, so the environmental requirement, industrial activities, activity industry in Malaysia required to obtain the following approvals from DG of Environmental Quality prior to project implementation. Okay, so these are the steps they have to go through before they set up any industrial activities. Okay, first the environmental impact assessment report. Okay, they have to submit the we call as EIA, and then for the prescribed activity, and the site suitability evaluation, and written permission to construct. This one is under Section 90 of the EQA 1974, this Act, for prescribed premise, schedule, waste treatment and disposal facilities, crude palm oil mills and raw natural rubber processing mills. And then the written approval, they have to submit the written approval. No, they have to get the approval, the written approval for installation of incinerator, fuel burning equipment and chimney. This one is under environmental quality. Bracket the clean air regulation, and the license to use and occupy prescribed premise and prescribed conveyance. This one is under Section 18 of the EQA 1974. Sorry. Okay, so basically this is the map, the step. The step to start the industrial activities. Okay, so step one, just now we have the site suitability evaluation and the EIA approval for prescribed activities, and step two, which related to subject to air and water pollution control. So they have to get the approval for the written permission of air and written notification for their sewage, industrial effluent and leachate. And last one, the written approval on the prescribed premise such as crude palm oil mills, raw natural rubber mills, scheduled waste facilities. And last one, the license to occupy. They have to occupy the crude palm oil mills, raw natural rubber factories, and scheduled waste treatment and disposal activities, and the prescribed conveyance. Okay, so we go to 4.4.2 is the environmental audit. Okay. So in Malaysia, environmental auditing has largely been practiced by ISO 14001 certified companies and multinational industrial facilities that are regularly audited by their corporate environmental auditors. Okay, so ISO 14,000 is all about the environmental. 40,000, 14001 and so on is related to the environmental lah. So the value of environmental audit as a continuous improvement tools which can provide productivity and cost gains and at the same time as protecting the environment. This is the most important lah, that has yet to be appreciated on a larger scale. So therefore, to ensure compliance and self-regulation, the government has introduced the requirement to carry out environmental audit in section 33A environmental EQA under EQA 1974 amendment 1996. Okay. So the environmental audit is defined in the EQA 1974 as means periodic, systematic, documented and objective evaluation to determine the compliance status to environmental regulatory requirements. This is the most important. The environmental management system. Okay, environmental management like how they manage their sewage, effluent and leachate and so on. And the overall environmental risk of the premise. Okay, if you still remember the case, the case in Johor last year about the Sungai Kim Kim, that one is one of the example. Environment pollution by the factory. Okay, so continue the environmental audit. There are three main types of audits: environmental compliance audit, environmental management audit, and functional environmental audits, such as for water and electricity. Okay, there are three types. Okay, so we go one by one. So for the first one, the environmental compliance audit. Okay, this one, the environmental compliance audit is an investigation of the compliance status. Means that kind of premise still compliance with the Environmental Act or not. Okay, of a facility and or to extend the environmental liability. Okay, and then this process is systematic documented evaluation of a facility focusing on current operating and administrative procedures and process. Because sometimes masa kita audit, at first audit the compliance with all the regulations, but then a few years after that no more compliance lah. So should be kilang tu dah kena tarik lah dia punya compliance status. Okay, number 2 is the environmental management audit. Okay, this audit provides information about the organization operational status compared to management's expectation of environmental performance. So in other words, if management expect the organization to comply with the regulations, then an audit provides information as to whether or not compliance has actually been achieved. Right. Okay, so this is the step for environmental auditing process. The systemic approach. We have few steps. First, we have to plan the audit, prepare the checklist, conduct and document the audit, and last step, we have to request the corrective action plan, CAR. So plan the audit, decide which area, process or procedure you are going to audit according to the plan, speak to the manager responsible to ensure that resources will be available and there is no conflict with operational requirements. Beritahulah kalau tikang tiba-tiba kita nak pergi audit, tiba-tiba tak ada pula kan. Tutup. Okay, and then we have to prepare the checklist. We have to read through the procedures applicable to that area, and then prepare an internal audit form, and then obtain and review any necessary background documents, and review EMS document, which is the environmental management system on that premise. And then conduct and document the audit. So ask question and observe, and then record the replies and your observation on your audit form immediately. Try to carry out your audit when people are carrying out the process or working in the areas being audited. Okay, maksudnya bukan dia cakap saja tapi dia kena tengok. Maksudnya that premise is running at that time. So just you have to observe and jot down about the process. And then identify and summarize all non-conformance and observation, if any lah. Okay, kalau ada apa-apa yang kita rasa non-conformance along the process, so we have to identify and summarize. Okay, so last step is the request. We have to request for the corrective action. So write down your suggestion and get agreement from the person responsible for the area being audited. Okay, maksudnya kalau plan section C, so maybe the supervisor, the PIC, the PIC for the area lah. And then we have to they have to complete any administrative tasks and state the date for the next audit. Means that we have to follow up. Okay, so this is the example form for internal audit. This one audit carried out by, and the procedure, the section, either it's conforms or not non-conform. Okay, the comment, and what is the CAR, corrective action request. Problem and issue for non-conformance and observation. Non-conformance are failure within the system and usually relate to employees not following work procedure. When a non-conformance is recorded, the auditor should suggest a way of correcting the fault to stop it from happening again. So they should prepare a non-conformance report or corrective action request form that details what has gone wrong, and how to rectify the fault, and who will do the remedial work, and when it will be completed, and how to prevent the fault from happening again, and a follow-up date. Okay, so this is the example of the CAR, corrective action request form. Right. So the audit report, basically the report should contain the following item: the audit administrative details, the regulatory compliance summary, the main report, which is the audit findings and recommendation, and attachment, if any. Okay, so we continue. Okay, so we continue with the report on impact on environment. The environmental impact, there is possible adverse effect caused by development, industrial or infrastructural project, or by the release of a substance in the environment. So the EIA document itself is a technical tool that identify, predicts, and analyze impacts on the physical environment, as well as social, cultural, and health impact around the area. So if the EIA process is successful, so it identifies alternative and mitigation measures to reduce the environmental impact of the proposed project. So this is the importance of the EIA, Environmental Impact Assessment. Okay, so this is the report on impact on environment. So the benefits of the report include the environmentally sound and sustainable design, for a better compliance with standards, and saving in capital and operating costs, reduce time and cost for approvals, and increase the project acceptance, and they will have the better protection of the environment and human health. Okay, so 4.4.4, the scheduled waste management. So Malaysia has developed a comprehensive set of legal provisions related to the management of toxic and hazardous waste. So the regulation was based on the cradle to grave principle. So a facility which generates, stores, transports, treats, or dispose scheduled waste is subject to the following regulations. Okay, these are all the regulations. We have the waste management regulation. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All the related regulations under the waste management. We have the environmental quality, scheduled waste, regulation 2005, prescribed conveyance, scheduled waste order 2005, prescribed premise, scheduled waste treatment and disposal facilities. This one is order on 1989. Again, prescribed premise. For prescribed premise, we have scheduled waste treatment and disposal facilities. This one order 1989, and then we have the regulation on 1989, and then the custom on the prohibition of export under order amendment number 2 1993, and again under custom prohibition of import order amendment number 2 1993. Okay, so the incentive to encourage proper industrial waste management, there are incentives to encourage this industrial waste management. The pioneer status incentive for 5 years to companies which are principally engaged in an integrated operation for the storage, treatment, and disposal of toxic and hazardous waste. And then, as a further incentive for both the above categories of companies, the government also extend the current import duty and tax and sales tax exemption scheme for machinery, equipment, raw materials, and components. Okay, so our government dia bagi insentif ni untuk mana-mana premise yang follow the proper industrial waste management lah. Okay. Okay. Alright, so we have finished my part. Okay, so next we will continue with next lecture. Alright, that's all from me. Thank you.